talk about the cool stuff you've built. But yeah, welcome. Thank you to everyone in the audience for joining and everyone who is watching the recording in the future. My name is Boris, along with Jeannie. We are from the ecosystem team at Aligned. And today we're really lucky to be joined by Nishant, who was actually the first place winner of the Aligned Builders Hackathon that we ran in October. And that was our first big online hackathon. We had, what was it, like 50,000 in prizes total. And the whole hackathon ran over the month of October. So I'm just going to give a little bit of background on that. Today, hackathon reflections. Nishant will talk about ZK Game Kit, and we're also just going to, I think, have a fun discussion about ZK and the implications or applications it has for gaming in general, because I think there's some really interesting things to think about in regards to that. And then if we have some time, we can answer some questions, go through the questions you all have been submitting, and just hang out for a bit on Discord. So yeah, again, these are our weekly community calls on Discord. Sometimes it'll be updates from the team. Sometimes we're going to be trying to feature builders in the community like Nishant to talk about different things that are being built on Aligned, and other ideas that you all have. So, we just lost him. So, I mean, yeah, I think we would like these to be...
There's a bit of a delay. Did you notice?
So Nishant
Maybe.
disappeared, and there's a bit of lag on your end, but there we go. Okay, he's back.
Yeah, I don't know,
So,
for some reason, I got disconnected.
weird. Okay, hopefully it all works. Yeah, we can also
Yeah.
try cameras off at some point to preserve bandwidth if that's an issue. But yeah, like I was saying, we want to also have some of these community calls be like educational formats. So if there's topics that you all in the community are interested in learning about, please let us know. We have some very experienced researchers on our team. I'm sure Diego would love a chance, for example, he's our head of research and one of our co-founders, a chance to teach you all about hash functions or some other interesting ZK related topics. Or maybe stuff about, crypto infra and blockchains and scaling. And yeah, I mean, we want to help people understand and learn about all the different things that can be built on Ethereum and using ZK, and of course using Aligned. So that's a big part of why we're here. It's to help people think about the different use cases and work through different product ideas, and help people build using ZK today, because that's why we're here. So yeah, this is a quick overview of today's presentation. Like I mentioned, back in October, we ran our first Aligned Builders Hackathon. We were super excited by this. We had like almost 20 submissions and 50K in prizes. It was all online. It ran over the whole month. And we saw some really cool things being built that use Aligned for verifying zero knowledge proofs. A lot of stuff with ZK VMs. And oh yeah, here we go. We have a nice little highlights and achievements page. Games, ZK VMs, light client bridging solutions, private voting apps. We had a lot of people get involved in the developer ecosystem, and you can check out. Once Nishant starts presenting, I'll share a link to the thread we have on Twitter that goes into a little more detail.
I'll actually
If you have it handy, Jeannie,
share
you
the
can.
portfolio link.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we're super excited about this, and things have been pretty busy over on our end the last couple of months between launching the mainnet beta of our proof verification layer, which you may have heard us call fast mode in the past, which is our very fast and cost-effective zero knowledge proof verification network on Ethereum. And then all the stuff about the airdrop and preparing for TGE. But this year, we're really, really stoked to have a whole bunch of hackathons. So there's going to be a lot more opportunities for people to build on Aligned and hopefully take these projects and apps to the next level. So we'll have more news on that once we have more news on it, and we're definitely excited to share it with you. But for now, just stay tuned and remember that we're here if you do want to discuss any ideas that you're working on, and we'd love to support you however we can. So it is my pleasure to introduce Nishant, who was the first prize winner of our hackathon. for his project ZK Game Kit, featuring a game proof of concept that showed up. Well, I'll let him tell the story, but ZK Game Kit featuring block nonce. So, Nishant, welcome. I'm gonna end these slides now and let you share your screen, but the floor is yours, man. It's great to have you here. Excited to give you a chance to share what you've built with people, and then we can, I don't know, just talk about ZK and gaming because there's a lot of cool stuff related to that.
Yeah. So, hey all, I'm Nishant. I am a self-taught developer. I have like a background in architecture, so I'm a qualified architect. But I'm doing development stuff right now. So for the past 3 or 4 years, I've been in the blockchain space, working on different projects, doing contract work. And that's where I started like trying to explain to my friends and family what I'm actually building, or like what I'm actually doing, which is where the idea for blockchain gods came in. And so for the hackathon, I thought like, all right, let's sort of try to compress it all together and create a mini game, which which um, takes inspiration from blockchain, and like it's sort of easy to play. It looks good, I guess. So that was the idea. But while developing this project, I realized that there's not many resources because for game devs to work with CK. And I was like, okay, so since I'm building all this infrastructure, why not just open it up for other devs or like other future devs to come and contribute on, or like you know so that was my thought process. Again, like when I started with this hackathon, I was pretty new to CK as well, so I'd heard about CK. I had read a bit about CK, but I hadn't actually like worked on CK. So this hackathon was like a gateway for me as well to actually start working with CK circuits. So having said that, I'll just probably show you the demo of the game. Let's see if I can um make a selection. Okay. Shit. Um, right. So I hope you are able to see this. Just can you see this
Yeah,
game?
it
Yeah. Okay.
looks clear on my end.
Okay. So this is like a demo of the game where you can start playing without connecting a wallet. And like with for using a line layer, you don't really need a wallet, um, or like someone else can put in the funds for you, and you can just interact with a line layer as a user without knowing that you are interacting with a line layer. So that's I think like that's pretty cool. Um, but anyways, like so let's say you start playing without connecting a wallet, and then you select the sort of bugs and wait for the timer to end. Um, and that's pretty much it. Like for the gaming experience, what I'm
I think you
thinking
missed one.
after this is,
So
sorry?
yeah, so this game is like you have to sort of like search. I think I saw another one. You basically have to find all the shapes that are bugs that have like little eyes, right? And it's like a
Yeah.
speed kind of skill game where you have to like quickly go through and then try to find them all.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's it. That's about it.
Yeah.
So right now it's like really just the gameplay that is being focused on. But like hopefully in a few weeks' time, I am able to add like a leaderboard where like the top players are listed, so it becomes a bit more competitive. People are able to sort of bet on the top players or something along those lines. So let's see. I mean, that's going to be like pretty interesting. But yeah, while talking, I forgot to select. so it will
Yeah.
issue
And
like
I remember playing a demo, and like as you progress through levels, the boards get bigger and bigger, so it gets a lot harder to find
yeah,
all of them. Um,
yeah.
so bringing this back to like
That's about it.
to ZK, right? Like the idea of like making the game verifiable. So could you tell us a bit about the like so what's on the back end right now? Like on the front end, it's people playing a game, but where does ZK tie into this?
So I'm better with some diagrams, so I'll just take you to this GitHub repo, and you can see the diagram there. So I'll probably just share the link through this repo um,
Yeah.
in the chat. Um, so in the architecture diagram, you can see that like a user interacts with the front end, and then the actions are passed to a Node.js backend, which then communicates with the Rust server, and then yeah, that server sort of communicates with Align. This was the most efficient way that I found, like during the hackathon at least, that I could work on for communicating with Aligned. I'm sure there would be like better ways, but this was my approach then.
Hmm. And
Um,
question: the Rust
and
server.
then
So the
um,
what kind of proof is being generated in the Rust server? We're using zkVM there to take the game inputs or the game results or game state, and then
so Node.js generates like a secret, and then it takes in what the game actions and tries to like gets both of these numbers and throws it to the Rust server.
mhm,
So there's like number of bugs caught by the user, and then like a secret generated, which is like the equivalent number of bugs that Node.js has had randomly decided.
mhm.
And then those two numbers are just passed on to the Rust server. I mean, yeah, that's like really something that's basic. And the Rust code basically compares if those two numbers match. If yes, then you get rewarded. If not, you don't.
Okay,
That's pretty
so I
much
was
it.
wondering what kind of proof was actually being generated and then sent to a line to be
So
verified.
it was like it uses SP1 proof. I'm not really sure if that
Okay.
sort of answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I was just wondering like what you were using to prove the actual code, which was SP1. So you're using zkVM.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's nice because basically whatever game logic somebody has to have like a verifiable game, they could just need it to be able to be like the game state or the results to be passed in Rust, or ideally the whole execution of the game inside the zkVM would be interesting, right? Because then you could have like the
yeah,
entire workflow. But here it's just like the results that you're passing.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like to build a whole Node.js sort of logic within Rust would be quite interesting and quite challenging. I haven't tried that because honestly, I'm new to Rust as well. So, like during the hackathon or like when the hackathon was announced, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. For this, I probably need to learn Rust.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm new to Rust, man.
Isn't it fun though?
It is fun, like learning a new language. Like it is fun.
Have you ever used some of the old style I don't know what it's called. Like, do you know Socrates?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
No.
Oh, it's just like a old style type mm, circuit making thing. It's like you basically go in and write some code and it gives you it basically creates you a custom circuit and a solidity contract you can use with it. I used it to make like a very small ZK game type thing a couple years ago. But it's like compared to using these ZK VMs and tools like ZK Rust, like it's I guess quite complicated. I felt like even though I don't code. um
Wait, Nishant, you stopped sharing your screen. I wanted to ask you more about the architecture diagram a bit.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. um, Yeah, so I mean, I remember when we were discussing this before, you were telling me that basically um, to build out your game and have the results of player actions be verified on a line, and we'll get to why that's even important or interesting to do in the first place in a second. Like, I guess you basically saw that there was a lot of components that were needed just to enable people to build games like this, right? So could you tell us a bit more
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the different parts here, like whether it's connecting with a wallet, signing transactions, on-chain actions downstream of what you just showed us?
Yeah. So, like if you're a front end developer, or like if you're just like a new developer, you would probably start with front end and trying to code like a fun experience for your users. And you'd probably use some sort of an API, like to make calls, or whatever. So, like while building this whole game, I realized that there's a lot more than just like a fun experience that needed to be built. There was like a whole bunch of code that needed to be written, and I didn't want to do the same thing over and over again while building a new game. Or like if I start building a new game, I didn't want to repeat the whole process. And I was like, yeah, maybe I could just try to modularize this whole thing, and make it as simple as possible so that the next time I develop a game that is similar to this, I don't need to develop the whole thing again. I can just make the right API calls and get done with it. And so that's sort of where I'm right now. I'm trying to move all the logic from the front end to the Node.js back end, which would be part of the package, or like something that you could use, something that the devs could use later. Um, and like other parts like the smart contract and everything, like the reward system is still being built, so I'm still working on that. And obviously like the CK circuit that I had mentioned before, which is just comparing two numbers, it's not really efficient. I mean, like this it's not meaningful at the moment, and I'm hoping to sort of improve on that, because that was some of the one of the feedbacks that I'd received from someone else. um, so yeah, so like this all thing like that's sort of outlined in green, the new package. That's what I'll be improving as I go along. Go. Um, yeah.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I'm curious. Did you look at? So I wanted to maybe give some context to other people listening, which is that one of the ideas that we were kind of pushing a bit during the hackathon was the idea of making verifiable games. Um, and what I mean by that is, so for people who don't know, a ZKVM is a zero knowledge virtual machine. And this is a virtual machine that lets you execute and prove arbitrary Rust code. So typically, if you want to make a zero knowledge proof or generate a zero knowledge proof, you create what's called a circuit, and all of the computation basically has to be turned into math that you can generate a mathematical proof of. Whereas with the ZKVM, that's still what happens, except you don't need to know how, you don't need any like domain specific languages for writing circuits. You can actually just use Rust code, or I think there might be some ZKVMs that use other languages as well. But if you know Rust, you can just write any Rust program and have that proven in the ZKVM. And then what happens is that proof can be verified, right? So it can be sent to Ethereum to be verified directly, or it can be sent to a line to be verified at a much lower cost, and then have those results still be posted to Ethereum. And that's all backed through crypto economic security, as we are built as an eigenlayer AVS. So this is really cool. Like I think during the hackathon, I even just had ChatGPT build a very simple game for me in Rust. I made like a Flappy Bird clone, like a super simple one. Just it took me like 30 minutes, and I'm not a developer. Like I've written some Python, I've done some like data visualization with Python for my PhD, but like I've never made a game. I've never built an app. And with ChatGPT, I was able to make like a game in Rust super quickly. So obviously, it wouldn't be like there's some issues with it, but that was part of me making sure that we weren't giving people a crazy assignment like build a verifiable game. But the reason you'd want a verifiable game is because if like right now, if you imagine a high score leaderboard for like a single player game like Tetris or something, you're basically just trusting whatever server that you're connecting to or playing this game on, that the high scores are actually what the high scores are, and the leaderboard is how it is, right? Like, you're completely trusting some third party to keep track of that. Whereas here, you could actually you could generate a proof of your result in the game, a proof of what you've done in the game and your high score, and you can have that verified, right? And now all of that information can go on chain, and people can permissionlessly create like a leaderboard, right? So you could just have some smart contract logic that's reading this from Ethereum, and you will just have like a living leaderboard for the proofs for that game, basically. But beyond that, there's a lot of cool ways that ZK can be used in games that we'll jump into after. So yeah, that was basically kind of the kind of background. Like, you can now have verifiable games, and just like removing trust in general is one of the superpowers of crypto and blockchains. So Nishant, I'm curious, like, have you looked at how other games that were submitted for the hackathon built their game logic and like used ZKVMs? I don't know if you've dug into any of that, because there's a bunch of games actually
Not
in the
really.
hackathon.
I think I should have, but I didn't.
Yeah, no worries. I was just curious if you have, because I haven't either. Again, I'm not like not a developer, so me looking at GitHub repos can only take me so far, and there have been other priorities. But there have been, we had another game which won one of our prizes, which is actually really fun. It was this like
People
Sokoban.
mostly made logics. Like I remember the real issue people had was also doing something in front end.
Hmm.
Um, so it's also a um, good idea to like improve things on the front end so people can implement things easily.
Yeah.
But I remember most people had that problem of like completing that part, which I guess why Nishan won the hackathon.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
That, and also creating
and
something that people can use.
another point I wanted to make was after I was watching these old independent game conference videos the past days, and I sent some parts to you guys too, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I realized that like maybe like blockchain gaming and all that also has like a more philosophical purpose too, because the whole game industry did kind of collapse because of some sort of like some things related to governance and like these gaming companies too, like
Centralization, really, right?
the, yeah, like the centralization of the games got to a point where people started to rebel against the companies and the decisions made. Especially, I was a huge MMO player. Like, I played all the MMO games you can think about: World of Warcraft, RuneScape, Silk Road, uh, I think a couple other ones, and like Puzzle Pirates, obviously. And all of those games actually did die because people disagreed with the decisions made by the companies and such. Like, Ethereum was created because of that. Actually,
Yeah,
like
Vitalik's
literally,
backstory.
Vitalik decided to build Ethereum because he was pissed off at the decisions made by Blizzard, and they nerfed his warlock and all that. Like, true story. Yeah, so like, and I realized the whole gaming industry is also completely taken over by the console companies, and like they're like doing a lot of um trash content, I guess. So yeah, like maybe at some point the purpose of also blockchain gaming is to kind of take that power back and like start making like non-dummy games again. Cause like I don't find any games being like actually enjoyable like they used to be. And I'm sure I'm not getting old now because of all the recent uncoveries being made with old industries. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do
Well,
have a dream.
I think so my little backstory is like I love video games, but I don't really play them because I like them too much, and I they just like take up all of my
Oh,
time. I like they're too fun. Basically, it's too fun for me, so I just
come
like
on.
avoid them. Yeah, sorry, I'm busy. What can I say? Um, but yeah, I mean like
Give Boris more, what's it called?
more free time.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, give me more free time. Petition for more free time. Well, so what I wanted to say is like, I for people who follow these things, like obviously gaming within Web3, gaming within crypto is like a huge vertical in the industry. And I think again, now I'm not an expert on this, but I follow the trends a little bit and like read the interesting articles that pop up. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of investment is going into like Web3 gaming, right? Like the idea that you can have these kind of open permissionless economies and marketplaces is very powerful, right? Like digital items, virtual items, or like digital assets, or whatever you want to call them, NFTs, tokens, like a lot of stuff in games are basically represented as these like virtual assets, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you can imagine that like a lot of MMOs, like GD mentioned, have these very complex and active in-game economies, right? So now if you can figure out a way to open that up to the world and let other people build on top of that, you can get a lot of innovation and a lot of interesting things come out. There's obviously this tension with the developers of the game who need to monetize things and maybe want to control that and not just have like any random open kind of economy. But there's already examples of games with like digital assets in them, like people trade CS:GO skins and stuff, and there's anyway. Again, I'm not up to date on how things are in how games have evolved over the past like 10 to 15 years too much, but but I'm aware of these things at least. um,
Yeah, yeah,
so that's one thing, right? And I think there's also, well, there's the closeness to money that blockchains provide, um, which obviously has a lot of applications for like speculation and gambling. So a lot of like gaming is like that kind of gaming. Um,
yeah,
but I know that recently we've been discussing. Well, okay, actually, there's one more thing that I'll throw out there, which is another reason why I know people who are like deep into crypto and building crypto think that gaming is a super interesting space, and it's for UX reasons, right? Because video games have extremely high user experience demands. Like things
yeah,
need to be basically instantaneous. So I don't know, within 100 milliseconds. People need to know exactly what they're doing, what they're getting. They can't lose their items. They can't get hacked, or else they won't play the game. And if they don't play the game, then like your business model is cooked, right? The whole industry relies on people actually wanting to spend time playing these games and spend money buying these games and buying items for the games. So a really interesting perspective I heard from one of my friends who's one of the co-founders of ChainSafe, which has a whole gaming division, and they have this like Unity SDK for integrating like crypto stuff into games, is that being able to solve UX for gaming, like on-chain UX for gaming, lets you solve UX for all of crypto in general, which is like that kind of blew my mind when I heard that, because basically it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Like you are just trying to make something that works really, really well for gamers, and then you can just use that as a template for how to make on-chain UX be really smooth and nice for everyone, right? Because games have like very strict latency requirements, like I said, and everything else. So that's a few reasons to be excited about it. But Nishant, you had some like
yeah,
really good ideas that you shared with me the other day, that I'd love for
yeah.
you to share with everyone else as well.
Do you want me to share the document or what?
I mean, yeah, if you want, or you can just like reference it and like just riff on it, right? Like I
Yeah,
think this
I'll
is just like a discussion, right? Like
yeah.
I
Let
want
me
you to,
stop sharing this.
yeah, go
I'll
for it.
stop sharing the screen. So, yeah, I guess like we were talking about the different aspects that make a good game, and then like how ZK could kind of uh be used to enhance that kind of an experience. So let's say you have got a leaderboard where you can um like have multiple players pop up, but like initially you could just have like let's say if you're participating in the game, then it only tells you if you are in the top 50 or like bottom 50. and then eventually as the game progresses, you get more sort of information. So like then you are told that okay, you are in the top 10 or like bottom 10 or something along those lines. So like that's probably one of the applications, but let me open the document so that I'm
I'm dropping the chat with some interesting content if anybody wants to check.
Yeah, I've already seen these because you shared with me already.
Yeah, you get it on a daily basis.
no, I think you shared that on Twitter as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I also shared it on my Instagram. But
One,
So
yeah,
in it's CK proof, like one of the use cases could be like proof that a player has completed certain actions. So I guess like Boris, you were talking like sometime back, you were talking about how Tetris could have like a leaderboard, but you wouldn't know if like the person has actually completed the game. You just have to trust the server. But with CK, you can have those checkpoints in place and then, like see whether or not the person has completed the puzzle without actually exposing the solution, or like the person has beaten the boss without actually showing the strategy.
hmm
So
I really
just
loved. I loved your speed run verification thing, which is like, what if competitive speedrunners could show and like, well, prove that they were able to complete the game in X amount of time without actually revealing the route or their techniques, right? Like that would be that's
yeah.
super cool. That's like a fun idea, but it's also like maybe a toy example, but could be expanded to all sorts of stuff. And like we need better info to be able to do these things,
Yeah.
right? um,
We probably need to do a lot of user research because like like from what I understand, like a lot of speedrun players, they also like to have like their own YouTube channel and just
yeah,
show off a
yeah,
lot more.
of course, yeah, yeah.
So
There's maybe some
um
cases though, yeah,
I,
like
sorry, go ahead.
no, nothing. I was just yapping. Continue.
So yeah, like we could also have like hidden game state, like, or like just have let the other player know that your opponent is playing by the rules without actually letting them confirm. So like in a poker game, you know that the other person is playing by the rules because you have someone watching over, let's say for an example.
Yep.
But in like a video game, you don't have anyone watching over you. You probably have the server making sure that people are not cheating and whatnot.
hmm
So yeah, we could probably like have something along those lines. And
Yeah,
I don't know, man, like this.
I wanted to comment on that, the private game state. This is like another big topic within like Web3 gaming because especially like on-chain games like autonomous world stuff where like the whole game is running on a blockchain. That's one of the issues, right? Because like I know there are people working on using ZK for this because basically a lot of games do require you to have some sort of like secret information, right? Like you need private information. Like you said in poker, for example, you can't have like everyone's hands on chain for everyone to see because then you can't play poker. But even like if you think of real-time strategy games, Fog of War, like the hidden resources, stuff like that, like things where there's discovery and chance required because you need to like figure out where the randomly generated stuff is. That's like
Yeah.
ZK can allow us to do this, right? Um, Something interesting is I remember like when I was early into crypto, there was this platform which I think still exists called CoinFlip, which is basically like an on like fully on-chain gambling. I think built on Polygon, and you could like basically put in some stake, like as if you were in a casino, even if it's just like a coin toss. And it could be like best out of one, best out of three, best out of five, whatever. Where like you put in I don't know one Matic or one Paul or whatever. I guess it was called Matic at the time. Um, and then you would flip the coin and how they would actually like let you be convinced that it's a truly random coin flip is I think they were using an oracle. I think they were using Chainlink, right? So like that is one way to do it, but there's like a bit of a latency requirement there and stuff. And I was, when I started learning about ZK, I started thinking, oh, what if you could just like have some verifiable randomness in whatever VM this is all running on, um, you would take some of that stuff off chain, but it would be more verifiable rather than just trusting the oracle, which I guess you do trust because it's, you know, sufficiently decentralized and it's chain link and whatever. But that is, I think, like a cool space that I don't know if anyone's really built stuff there, like using ZK for basically on chain gambling. um,
Well, one of the easiest stuff to build for blockchain gaming is like a gambling game, right? Like, because it's like an obvious sort of solution where you can bet with your tokens and
yeah,
um, get rich quick, in a sense, or like lose all the money. So that's sort of like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like
I mean, that's the thing,
funny
right?
enough,
It's
like
like,
Lose all the money.
yeah,
no, no,
yeah. Well, that's the thing,
that
right?
was one
Like,
of the first
Yeah,
games that I built.
I actually once designed this blackjack type game, but there was a few differences in it, like a custom black, and it was actually to fund public goods. I designed it for Green Pill. I wanted them to turn it into a game. Then Ovoki literally got scared and decided to cancel the whole project. Because I designed this gamble mechanic where people get literally punished and like become gamblers ruin and lose all their money if they don't choose to fund public goods. Was a bit crazy, yeah.
sounds like taxes.
Didn't mean to scare Oboki from making an NFT game, but yeah.
That's oh yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's like this is a bit of a side tangent, but I don't know if anyone has ever watched the A16Z Crypto Startup School video series. And I think they've been doing more videos, but I watched like a few years ago when I was getting into crypto, I watched like the whole series from probably like 2021 or something, or 2020. Um, and that was super interesting. And there was this whole one of the talks was on like business models within crypto, and one of the things that stuck with me from that, like to this day, is that like a real superpower of crypto is the idea that you can have like global fundraising like instantly, right? Like typically if you're raising investments, it's a slow process, but this is why ICOs were so successful, because like anybody could raise money from anybody permissionlessly, basically. Obviously this led to a lot of scams, but it highlights the like superpower of crypto, which is that you can have like global peer-to-peer financial transactions. And for things like gambling, that is like super super useful. Or anything involving money, crypto has like a great use case, right? Like if you want to have an in-game economy that uses actual money, there's like so many regulatory loopholes and like issues with like payment providers. People, you know, need to use their credit cards, do all this stuff, which is why it's basically like, you know, big centralized entities that are providing this for games. Like if you want to buy like a expansion pack or some skins, like you go through Steam or you go through whatever the PlayStation store, right? Whereas if you have a game that's like running on chain or is like has blockchain integrated, then like anybody anywhere could just use crypto to pay for stuff in the game. Same thing with gambling, right?
Another thing I just thought of, I was working in a like a game-ish type project before this PHI, but it was mostly about credentials. So like we would track your on-chain actions and give you certain NFTs based on the actions you've done.
Yeah.
Like you traded so many times on Uniswap, so you get some sort of a Uniswap trophy. I really wanted to turn this into some sort of, the guy who thought of this idea, he actually created a soulbound token system using ENS names. At the time, the soulbound tokens didn't exist, so it was pretty genius. Uh, and I wanted to. He also made this other app where he made this wrapping contract where people from different games who are farming resources would wrap their resources into their contract, and create some sort of commonly used resources. Like you bring brick from one game and wood from one game, and you build a sword where you can use in both games.
Hmm.
Uh,
Dude, we can
yeah, and
actually sort
on
of
top
try to
of,
create.
sorry, what?
Sorry, we could actually try to create something along those lines, right? Like we could actually have like a marketplace where different games can offer stuff, and then like another game sort of tries to use resources offered within this
Yeah.
game. So then like the games can partner up pretty easily, and then all of those kind of games use a common infrastructure.
Yeah.
Cool idea.
And on top of that, I wanted to implement the credentials to that. Like, okay, let's say you're like a professional trader, you would be able to get something that proves that you are, and you would get certain perks in that game. Or like if you're an
Hmm.
actual engineer, maybe you would start the game with like bonus engineering skills, or um you could like create custom things like in, it's like marketing for protocols. Like
Yeah.
I get to create a Uniswap forged sword in the game or something, I don't know.
That's a cool idea.
uh
I like that. I mean,
yeah, the
I use
credentials
Phi a
idea
bunch.
is pretty cool. It's like it's the actual ideal metaverse, if you ask me, because the point of like the future metaverse dream is immersiveness. You're actually mixing your actual talents or skills, like reflecting your actual skills in that game or something. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, could have
Yeah.
been pretty cool. Still could be done.
Still
If
could be done,
anybody
right?
from the audience want to steal my ideas,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
um, yeah, I think like I don't know. There's a lot of cool possibilities. Um, I wanted to actually discuss a few of the other ideas while we still have a little bit of time, right? Like I think the very obvious ZK stuff that is like, you know, if you have some way to prove your identity without actually having to give up your ID, and you can like then access like age restricted content, for example, if you can generate a proof and have that verified that you're like of a certain age. Um, regional things, you know, just different like requirements and criteria for being able to access certain areas in games. Like obviously you can already do this in a permissioned centralized way, but if we want to have these like open autonomous decentralized games, then I think that ZK offers a lot of ways to do this, right? The really I think cool one is like the guarantees of randomness, because like that's one thing that I'm sure people have strong feelings about, which is like gacha and like loot boxes in games that like, you know, you don't know if you're actually getting the odds of getting an item that you are, right? But I think I don't know that. Have you thought more about that and like the idea of randomness or verifying randomness within ZK or using ZK, Nishant?
I was looking at it because I was like I was working on another idea, and it was mentioned to me that like ZK VRF could be something that you could work on. And yeah, that's like one of the probably components that I could start developing once I have more time.
Yeah.
Just for people to use on in games, because like
What is
that's one
VRF
of the
again?
essential things. Like
Verifiable random
a
function.
verifiable function. Like yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
let's actually look it up just to make sure.
One good example of that is Dark Forest, by the way. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
use that randomness thing to create the planets,
Yep.
which
No,
is
and I
pretty awesome.
this is one of those things where I'm sure if there's gonna be people who hear this who will be like, oh my god, these guys like didn't mention this game or this on-chain game. I know there's a big game on Starknet that's like an MMO. Like there's a lot of cool stuff happening out there. I just kind of wanted to use today to talk about different ZK related ideas to all of this, and again, get people thinking about ideas or telling their friends about it, and building using ZK, and so we can help you build with ZK basically. Um, did you look up VRF? Is it verifiable random function?
Yeah, I just made sure that it's variable verifiable
Yeah,
random function.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not actually. Never mind. I'm just gonna go on another little rant about a project that I heard about in DevCon, but I'll save it for another time. Um, so we're about at the top of the hour, so I think we should maybe wrap it up. But yeah, any like, well, Nishant, thank you for joining us. Congrats on the hackathon.
Oh, thanks for
Excited to
having
see
me.
that you're still working on it. Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action or anything else that you'd like to share before we go?
Um, so, yeah, like I would ask everyone to just check out the GitHub repo. If you have any suggestions or if you want to add stuff to it, you can just you're free to do so. I'm also building my own community, but I'll probably share the link to it once I think I can have community members and once like Boris is happy sharing that link. But yeah, I mean, I think you said you were happy, but I'm not ready yet just to share that link. Um, but it would be fun to like sort of grow the game and have it on Aligned as one of the first games
Yeah, we would love that.
It wouldn't only be one
or
of
like
the
first games
first
to use
games.
Aligned infrastructure.
It would be one of the first working protocol, like app or
Like
something.
ZK
Like
apps.
most of our partners
I
actually
mean, like
have
it's
not
pretty exciting,
finished
right?
working. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it takes a lot of effort to make sure that the game isn't like faulty, but we could obviously have like a beta version running that people can use. The only thing
Yep.
over here is like I have to pay for the server costs and whatnot. So we'll have to figure that one out because
Mm-hmm.
once you have everyone accessing the link, there's going to be trying like people trying to hack it and people trying to just
DDoS it
do
and
a DDoS kind of.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know that's something we can
Yeah.
discuss as things progress. What else did I want to say? Yeah, I mean, I guess that's basically it. Like the other thing is, it doesn't need to be running on mainnet. Obviously, like we still have Align running on the Holesky testnet for Ethereum, like Ethereum testnet. So for development purposes, if anyone's curious, like yes, if you go to our Explorer in the top right corner, it says mainnet. But if you click on that, you can also select Holesky, and then you can see all of the aligned explorer information for the testnet. So like our operators are continuing to run the testnet version for development purposes. So yeah, well, Nishant, thanks man, it's great seeing you. Jeannie, do you have any
Yeah, like
last tidbits to leave with our friends?
Um, no, because I won't stop talking.
All right, well then then I'll just say thank you everyone. Yeah, let us know what you would like to see in these community calls. We're going to try to highlight more projects that are building on Aligned, have discussions like this, kind of like podcast style, where we just talk about like ZK and crypto things. Of course, when we have updates, we'll be doing calls about those updates. And yeah, have a great day and see you next week.
yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.